Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. I'm your host, Jesse Showalter, and it is Taco Tuesday. I actually had tacos today to celebrate this amazing Tuesday. Hope you guys are having a great time. People jumping in the chat right now. We got Laura Staniva and Sam Peterson who's moderating for us, and Laura De Abreu and Aaron Hunter and Sarah Sanchez. Everyone's saying happy Tuesday, and we are back. That's right. I'm excited to be back. If you're new to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge, it's a way for you to learn about XD in 9 challenges. We had a little holiday yesterday. I hope you had a long weekend. I hope you got some rest. But that did not keep us from completing. We're going to be completing all 9 of our challenges because we did 5 last week. Going to be doing 4 this week, and that is the plan. Let me just jump over to my screen real quick and tell you a little bit more about the challenge. So if you're just starting, it's okay. It's all right to be late. You're fashionably late. All you got to do is hit that blue button up there and start taking the challenge. And you can find that at behance.net/challenge/XD. And each day you're going to receive a challenge. Like I said, today we are going to be talking about some animated icons. So if you scroll down, you can hit get started right there and get the starting file that we'll be using and following along with us. Then you can also join the community chat, not just the live chat, but the Adobe XD Discord server that has over 36,000 creatives. This is where you can find friends, get critique, and submit your work to get featured on the live show that you are watching right now. And then when you're done, post something to Behance. Make a new Behance project, either individual projects or one solid project with all 9 challenges, or from wherever you started. Pretty cool. Oh, Anthony said happy Wednesday from the southern hemisphere. The future is looking good for you guys. I love the interwebs. It's amazing. People in the future talking to us. All right, well, that's pretty much it. Let's get started. I'm going to jump over to XD. This is the XD file that you will start with. I did a little bit more work, but I did have some placeholder images in there for you. Let's talk about our challenge though really quick. Design some simple vector icons to dress up an e-commerce user interface or website, and then animate them on hovers and clicks and different sorts of micro interactions. And we're going to do all of that today inside of Adobe XD. No need to anymore, to be really honest, no need to create an icon and then take it into After Effects. You can, if you want, take it into After Effects, but you can do all the animating and the experimenting of what the animation might look like right here. So here's what we have on our artboard. Simple 19 by 20 by 1080 artboard. And on it, I have a high fashion website that I'm building right now, which just means that it's a little bit abstract and we have some overlapping stuff, some dimensionality, a couple images of a same product. I don't know, maybe it's these pants we're featuring. And then just some already established icons on the page and some more icons that we're gonna need to build. So with that being said, let's dive in, let's get started. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the chat or ask Sam Peterson, and one of us will talk to you and we will answer your questions or try our best. I'm just making sure everybody can see the stream and everything's working out all right. I think so. Let's get cracking. Well, here we are. Let's go. We have this site, and I think it probably needs a few more things. For instance, I think it probably needs some more text underneath here. Let's just finish this design up. We've come into this design in camera res, right? That's the term for jumping into a movie and the action's already begun. We're kind of doing the same thing here. We've jumped into the action already. So let's post some text right here, and let's get a little contrast with our text by making this gray, and maybe light's a little too light. Let's go up to maybe like the normal weight again, something like that. Let's put let's put American fashion for future forward thinking, American fashion for future forward thinking. Oh my gosh, what else can we put that's like really hip and trendy? Millennials who are looking to impress. Man, that is probably the worst tagline. That is not my finest copywriting of all time, but it's something. It's a thing. So let's put that in. Let's lighten it up even a little bit more. We're still trying to, we of course want to honor the contrast. We want to be able to see, have legibility there, but that could be like the start of our text. Okay, I like that. I think we need a few more things here. So why don't we take this text and do something similar with it, this little collections text. Why don't we put something up here? I'm telling you, when we've broken out of the need to have everything be really boxy and everything to be looking like a certain way. And now I feel like web design could be a little bit more fun and experimental. So let's do 2020 up there. A little bit more like magazine, like traditional magazine print layout or editorial layout, which is, I just think it's really, really fun that we're here now. So let's put a little tag right there. And I'll tell you what, let's do some more overlapping stuff, just smaller versions of it. So let's take these, group them together. Let's just duplicate it. And let's bring these down, shall we? This went from 120. Let's bring it down to like 80. Maybe even more. Let's bring it down to like 60. And then that means let's bring this down quite a bit to like 16, something pretty small. Okay. I have these little text fields. Let's bring it right here. And what can we put? New fall. We're coming up on the fall, right? New fall line. So let's just double click that text box and it'll just suck up or retract the amount of space in the area text. And then over here, let's just keep this text as is. That seems fine. Okay, we'll just put it up like that. And maybe I'll just take the word new out and take fall line. Something like that, okay? We don't need all that space there. Bring the whole thing in. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, so we just got a little bit of text on the page. Let's start building some icons. We already have some icons. And I have this arrow over here. I don't love this arrow. So let's design our own arrow from scratch using some of our vector tools. Let's get rid of it. And I'm gonna bring out definitely the polygon tool. I'm gonna make a little triangle, all right? I'm gonna get rid of the border and I'm just gonna fill it with our dark black color. And I'm going to just round the corners so we just kind of have a little bit of border radius on the corners of our triangle, something like that. Then I'm gonna take my rectangle tool. I'm gonna draw a little rectangle and again, fill it with our black color. Ooh, the wrong one, that one. Get rid of our border. And why don't we round the corners of that as well? I could have used a line, but I just chose to use a rectangle. Just your prerogative, do what you think's right. And I'm gonna use my alignment tools here in a second, just making sure everything can be locked up nice and even. So let's bring the tip of that guy in a little bit, make sure everything is aligned. Looking pretty good. Now I'm going to use my Pathfinder or Boolean operations, and I'm going to grab both of the shapes, and I'm just going to hover over this one right here that says add. Let's add it together, and it makes a single shape. You can see in my layers panel, I've unionized them. They've become one, right? So that's kind of what we want. We want that one thing, but if you click inside of it, we still have the individual elements that we might be able to play with. So let's call this arrow, okay? And I'll tell you what, let's do something like this. Let's put it inside of, let's just click on this, the tail end of it a little bit. Let's make it a little bit shorter. We don't need it to be so big, right? But let's then make a nice big gray box for this to sit in. I like that. And let's put this arrow on top of it. That's where our little arrow will live. All right. Okay, pretty cool. It's a little chunky. Maybe we'd want to do something a little bit thinner. It's up to you. You do what you want to do. All right, people saying hello from Melbourne. Man, all sorts of people. Aaron says, nice looking arrow. I know, what I'm doing is, I don't know if that's sarcasm or not. It's not the most exciting thing, but it's about to get a little bit exciting. Let's do something a little bit more interesting, okay? I don't like how dark this gray is, so let's lighten it up and make it a little bit more chill. And then I'll tell you what, first thing we're gonna do is take our arrow, our really exciting arrow, and we are going to, actually, let's take the whole thing, the box and the arrow. Let's group it together and call it, you guessed it, box arrow. Press Command or Control K, and I've just turned it into a component, a reusable component. What does that mean? That means I can come over to my components, or excuse me, my assets panel, and look under components, and I can drag new instances of this component. Now what that also means is if I change the master, I change every instance, whether it's color or position of the elements inside. So that's a real time saver, okay? Let's go ahead and just delete the instance there. And now what we want to do is, now that we have our component, you can see over here, let's go up to the instances, shall we? We have the default state, excuse me, not the instances, the states. We have the default state on my main component. Let's add another state by hitting the little plus icon. And we want this to be a hover state. How about that? So we're going to do a hover state. And now the difference between creating a new state and a hover state is that on a hover state, XD is going to go ahead and do all the work for you and just wire everything up so that you don't have to go into the Proto tab and dictate what the action or the trigger will be. We already know the trigger is going to be hover, right? So it's our hover state. It's named it hover state. And with our hover state selected, why don't we do a little change to our icon? This is going to be our very first animation. So let's do this. Let's stretch our tail of our arrow out and move it like that. Let's go back over and just make sure that our arrow and our box are still centered. Now the only difference is we have small and we have large. We have small and we have large. Sound good? Not a really crazy animation, but a little micro interaction. Let's press play and see how it looks. So when I hover over it, I get this smooth little micro interaction here, okay? So that's number one. That's pretty simple. Let's do a little bit more of a complex one, shall we? Let's take our, let's see, maybe we would tap our hamburger and it's gonna open up a menu, okay? So we don't have a menu created right now, but we could create one really, really quickly. So why don't we do this? Let's wire up a menu. So I'm just gonna do something like this, and let's take some nice big typography, and we will just put it right in there. We're going to make it center align text and align everything up in the center. And let's do a little bit of a navigation. Ready? We have shop, we have collections, and we have specials. Okay, so let's just extend our boxes like this. Whoa, a little bit more. And just line everything up. I think that's pretty good. That's a really high line height. So let's do something like that. I think that works. Okay, now let's take our box and just do a little bit of a shadow. Okay, I'm gonna blur the shadow out so it just kind of raises up. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay, let's take the whole thing and let's call this menu. Now we want to make sure that our menu, or excuse me, what we really want to do is make sure that this little icon, which is going to be our hamburger, let's name it hamburger, is above our, just make sure it's above our navigation, or excuse me, our menu like that. Okay, let's come in here like this, and let's see. What do we like that? I'm kind of bothered about the position of it, but we can fix that. Okay, so first things first is we want, when we tap this, we want to be able to animate it into like an X to close. Okay, so let's do that really quickly. So I have the current hamburger menu. I'm going to create a component out of it, and that is our default state. Then we want to create not a hover, but a new state here. We're going to call this X to close. Okay, now X to close, we only need the top and the bottom. So what are we going to do with this middle guy? I'm going to shrink it down and then make it disappear. That makes sense? All right, I think so. And then I'm going to take my top X and I'm just going to rotate it. And I'll take my bottom X and I'll rotate it. And they will, meet in the middle somewhere like an X. Maybe we need a little bit more rotation. Rotate like that. Rotate like that. That's an actual X, right? Okay, so we have default state, X to close. Okay, so these might be a little bit high. We just want to kind of play with things a little bit. Something like that. Okay, so that's pretty good. Now I tell you what, why don't we take our menu and let's take our hamburger. Let's group those together and call those animated menu. Okay, and then we're going to take the menu portion of it. We're going to kick it off to the side. We don't need it there, and let's kick it all the way off so we don't even get any of the background, or excuse me, the drop shadow kind of showing. Okay, so now we have both of these. Our animated menu, it has a component inside of it. We're going to make a nested component. So we're going to take the entire animated menu, that's the actual menu itself, and the actual icon that we have there, and create a component out of it. Okay, so our default state is in the inactive state. Let's create one more state. It's a new state, and this is called active. Okay, with the active state selected here in my component states portion of the menu, I'm going to bring this guy in. I'm going to shoot this over to the side, and I'm going to move it to X to close. All right, now we have a nested component that has complex animation inside of it. So we should be able to go from default state and animate over to the active state. Let's just go into our prototype really quickly and let's wire this up, shall we? So we're gonna come in here. The last thing we're gonna have to do really quickly is, before we do anything else, we're gonna have to do an invisible tap trigger, okay? So let's come in here, white, no border, bring it down, and let's call this our tap trigger, just like that. And anything we add to the default state, it should also be present and be recursive and show up in the rest of the other states that we've created. But just know that is a really, really good point. When you place something in the default state, it is going to then appear in the rest of the states that you've created. So make sure anything you need in there, you put in that default state, versus making 10 new states and going, oh no, I forgot to put a tap trigger in. So just do that up front. That's what I would recommend, okay? So we have our invisible tap trigger, and then we want that invisible tap trigger to still be active and there and useful. It's gonna animate over as well. So now let's go to our prototype. Let's select our tap trigger. That's gonna be our trigger point. And we're gonna just tap the blue button, okay? So on tap, we want to auto animate to the active state. And let's do a little snap action in 0.5 seconds, half of a second, okay? And then let's go to our other state and animate it back. Same thing, auto animate, default state, snap at half of a second. We should be able to go now into our prototype and we should be able to tap right here, whoop, just like that. I think we should slow it down and watch the animation happen, because I'm really interested in the icon. Does it look good? Is it the exact animation that I want? So let's do this whole thing in 2 seconds, okay? And let's try that. So let's go here. It's gonna be 2 seconds, very slow. So you can see, let's go back. Our icon here is gonna turn into an X, and that middle bar disappears and it slides over. See that guy? Pretty slick, pretty smooth. We like it, we're into it. So with that being said, let's come back in here into our default state, and let's change this back to 0.5. Now we have that nice looking menu, whoop, just like that. And we have a little hover right there as well, okay? Pretty cool. Cheryl Ferris asks, could these animations be embedded into a Squarespace site? Well, what you're creating right now is a prototype. And so whether or not these icons can be exported as an SVG, there might be a plugin where you can export something as an SVG. You can definitely recreate these and use something like the Lottie library to create these animations. Maybe Sam Peterson knows a little bit more about this than I have, but I haven't actually done any exporting of these animated icons. We're gonna find that out. Somebody's gonna have that answer, guaranteed, because we're doing stuff on the internet today. So Cornell says very cool animations. I call them touch boxes. Is that weird? I'm gonna go ahead and call it a tap trigger. That's what I'm gonna call it. Okay, fancy in Howard Pinsky's voice, Eduardo says, it's pretty fancy. I like it a lot, okay? So things are going good. We're digging it and we're on time. We have maybe time for one more little animation, and I think this might be a good one to do. We could either do an underline on our text, or maybe we could do one more animation. Let's do an animation for our search, shall we? So here's our search. Let's turn it into a component, and let's what do we do with this guy? It could be pretty simple. Let's do another hover state for it, and on the actual hover state, what we want to do is maybe we want to make the whole thing look like it rotates like that, and just bring in the size of the handle. It could be something that simple, but it's nice to see these things kind of pop together. That might be too much actually, but let's see. I just hover over it. I get this little search icon. I actually hate this animation. I think it's cheesy. It's a bad animation, Jesse. You need to fix that later on. That would be my little note to self. But our little arrow's kind of cool. Maybe a little too chunky. Our little search animation kind of thing's good. But what I really like is our menu animation, which I think is pretty cool. Anthony Bertuzzi says that can we export this to CSS and JavaScript code? Well, here's what I do know. We can go over to our share tab and let's try it out right now, shall we? We don't want to go for design review. We want a development share. Okay, export for the web. Yeah, do we want web, iOS, or Android? Let's do web. and let's create the link. And let's see what Adobe XD creates for us. It's going to create a dev environment where they should be able to see not only code, but they should be able to have measurements and measure between different elements, download the assets, see colors and components, and be able to do all that stuff. So here goes. Here is our prototype. Just like we left it, we can actually interact with it and see it. So your developers can actually see what the interaction should look like. But when we head over to the dev portion of it, we can see the colors that are used and where they're used. I love that when I hover over the color, it highlights everything on the screen that is that color. Also, same thing with text. We have all the different types of text that are used here. That's pretty cool. Let's hide that. And we have, oh, look at this. We have assets. So let's click on an actual asset, like for instance our little thing. So we have path, and it has like all the width, height, rotation, appearance, and it does have some CSS placement for it, but it does not have, wait, stop, come on. It has, oh, we got character styles for our text, but I don't think it's going to have something that allows us to create JavaScript straight out of this. But I guarantee you there's a plugin and somebody knows it and I don't. So if you know it, let me know. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, Sam Peterson says this might have some more info that could interest you, and he's going to point you to letsxd.com. That's going to have a good guide that Howard Pinsky put up there about working with developers. So definitely check that out, because I think that's going to be a good read. I'm going to have to go read it after this and double check and see what's possible, because I want to know what is possible. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the design portion of it. Let's move over and let's review some of last week's challenges. This is the challenge from last Friday. This was submitted by Laura Steniva, who I believe is still in the chat. All right, Laura, let's take a look at it. This is your shopping cart, I believe. So let's pull this up full screen. Nice kind of payment gateway checkout experience, and hopefully my internet is capable of handling, which it doesn't seem like it is right now. So oh man, that's such a bummer. What's going on with my internet? I don't know, but man, okay, well, here's what I'll say design wise for this thing. Oh, I'm seeing some animation in there. Let's go back and try it again. There it went. Okay, here we go. All right, got an easy scroll going on there. Ooh, able to turn that into a gift. Change quantities, see the price update, hover on the button. Let's watch it again. It was so many good things. I love the layout. It's really clean. It's really simple. I like that you're using color where color really matters, right? So you're using color as a good call to action. These are primary, secondary, tertiary kind of principles. You're using them really, really well, but you're not using them so heavy, right? For instance, our primary action is to make the payment, and then you're using that same color for secondary action, saying, hey, this is also something you might want to update. Do you want it to be a gift? You must choose a payment type and make sure that the information is plugged in. But then you also have tertiary kind of call to actions, like removing things and updating quantity and recommended. You're not overloading the user. I think it's a great implementation, great animations, great usage. This one is by Chernashki, and this is the navigation aids kind of demonstration. So let's check this one out. Oh, this is our, I think probably our fixed navigation using anchor links. Check that out. Really clean, really modern. I love the style. Nice back to top. Really, really nice work. I'm digging it. And then that top navigation leads you down as well. Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. I like the use of color on this. I like the simple layouts. Again, here's some of that more of that editorial magazine-esque kind of layout stuff. Have fun with typography, have fun with it, play with it. But there is still good control here, I would say, which I really appreciate. The accent color is used sparingly, but used in a really nice way. I'd maybe even play with some of these numbers and maybe drop those down even more in transparency so you can see that it's number 2, but it's not overwhelming or competing with the actual quote or the actual content there. But I do love this implementation. I think it's a really, really nice one. Let's look at one or two more. This is from Moret, and this is the day 3 through 5 challenges all in one. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be a treat. This is our horizontal and vertical scroll groups, making our little kind of chair or furniture shopping application. Really nice. Using anchor links, I'm guessing, as well. Really beautiful implementation of that one. I'm loving everything you did here. Oh my gosh, all the lessons have been learned. Okay, yep. Look at that. I would love to see, that was kind of a tap. I'd also love to see a kind of drag or swipe to bring up that trash can or delete element. That would be a really fun challenge to try. But she brought all of the lessons learned into one to this one really beautiful prototype. And I think that that is an absolutely amazing job. We got time for one more. This is the shopping cart challenge. This one is from Anian. And I love the contrast of the blue over here and the white over here. Being able to remove those, the price is updating, the quantity, everything's working really, really good there. Let's see it one more time. See all the price and everything updating as the elements are dropped out? Super nice. The only thing I might suggest is maybe playing a little bit more with the layout of the details that are in here. This is all gorgeous, beautiful, strong user interface. This is really, really nice, the using of the bolds for the total. But I would play a little bit with this layout. I think it's the only thing that I might say is a little bit lacking. But other than that, it's absolutely beautiful stuff. Let's take a look at the schedule really quickly before we go. Stay tuned because coming up, well, right before me was video editing with Puno from I Love Creatives. That was a great stream. And right after me is Doodle Therapy with Alice Lee. So stick around. Some really, really good stuff coming up. And I'll see you right back here tomorrow for the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. See you later.